俺、帰りたくないんだ。
君、家出少年でしょ。
空は海よりもずっと深い未知の世界。
100% の晴れ女。
雨。ねえ、今から晴れるよ。
The story moves through Tokyo like a quiet storm waiting to break, following a boy who has already decided that running away is easier than staying where he feels unseen. Hodaka arrives in the city with little more than determination and desperation, carrying the weight of isolation and the constant pressure of survival in a place that never slows down. Tokyo feels overwhelming, drenched in endless rain that blurs the skyline and washes away any sense of warmth. Every street corner feels temporary, every passing face distant. And yet, there is something strangely beautiful about the chaos. The rain becomes more than just weather. It feels like a reflection of everything unresolved inside him, a constant reminder that life doesn't pause for anyone, no matter how lost they feel. As Hodaka struggles to find stability, the reality of financial hardship closes in quickly. Food becomes a luxury, shelter uncertain, and trust something that must be earned carefully. When he finds work at a small, somewhat questionable publishing office, it feels less like an opportunity and more like a fragile lifeline. The job itself is unusual, focused on stories that sit somewhere between folklore and urban myth, particularly those connected to strange weather phenomena. What begins as simple curiosity slowly starts to shape his understanding of the world around him. There is a growing sense that Tokyo's constant rain is not just a coincidence, that something deeper is at play, something beyond logic and reason. The tone of the story shifts the moment he meets Hina, a girl whose presence feels like a rare moment of sunlight breaking through heavy clouds. She carries a quiet strength, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken to be understood. Despite her own struggles, she radiates warmth and resilience, and it becomes clear that her life has been shaped by hardship in ways similar to Hodaka's. Yet she moves through it differently, with a sense of acceptance and courage that stands in contrast to his restless uncertainty. Their connection forms naturally, almost inevitably, as if both of them were searching for someone who could understand without explanation. What makes Hina truly extraordinary, however, is her ability to change the sky itself. With a simple prayer, she can part the clouds and bring sunlight into a world that seems permanently soaked in rain. This power is presented as something not grand or heroic at first, but rather as something intimate and deeply personal. It feels less like magic than more like a quiet miracle, something fragile and fleeting. The sunlight she creates doesn't just brighten the city, it transforms it, giving people moments of happiness in an otherwise gray existence. Weddings can take place under clear skies, festivals come alive, and for a brief time, life feels lighter. As Hodaka becomes more involved in Hina's life, the idea of using her ability to help others begins to take shape. They create a small service, offering sunshine to those who need it most, turning her gift into something tangible in a world that often values practicality over wonder. There's an innocence to this decision, a belief that something good can exist without consequences. But beneath that optimism lies an unspoken tension, a sense that nature does not give without taking something in return. The rain continues to fall, almost as if resisting every moment of sunlight they create. The emotional core of the story deepens as the relationship between Hodaka and Hina evolves. Their bond becomes a refuge from the harshness of reality, a space where they can exist without fear or judgment. It's not just about romance, it's about finding someone who makes the world feel less overwhelming. In each other, they discover a sense of belonging that neither of them had before. Yet, this connection also brings vulnerability, because the more they rely on each other, the more they have to lose. There is a growing awareness that Hina's power is not without cost. The more she uses it, the more it begins to affect her, as if the sky itself is slowly reclaiming what was never meant to be controlled. the symbolism becomes impossible to ignore. The endless rain represents imbalance, and her ability to stop it is not a solution, but a temporary defiance of something much larger. This realization introduces a sense of inevitability, a quiet understanding that their actions have consequences that cannot be avoided forever. The city itself plays a crucial role in shaping the narrative. Tokyo is not just a backdrop, but a living presence, constantly shifting between beauty and indifference. The rain-soaked streets, neon reflections, and crowded spaces create an atmosphere that feels both isolating and alive. It's a place where millions of stories unfold simultaneously, yet each individual can still feel completely alone. Against this vast and indifferent setting, Hodaka and Hina's connection feels even more significant, as if they are carving out a small piece of warmth in an otherwise cold world. As the story progresses, the line between hope and desperation begins to blur. Hodaka's determination to protect Hina becomes stronger, even as the reality of her situation becomes clearer. There is a refusal to accept that something so beautiful and meaningful could come at such a high cost. This internal conflict drives much of the emotional tension, forcing him to confront what he is willing to sacrifice and what he cannot let go of. It's a question that doesn't have an easy answer, because every choice carries weight. The narrative explores themes of love, sacrifice, and the human desire to hold on to moments of happiness, even when they are temporary. It challenges the idea of what it means to do the right thing, especially when the right choice may lead to personal loss. The relationship between Hodaka and Hina becomes a reflection of this struggle, showing how love can be both a strength and a reason for difficult decisions. Their story is not defined by perfection, but by the willingness to keep moving forward, even when the future is uncertain. The rain continues to fall throughout much of the story, almost like a constant reminder of the world's imbalance. It creates a melancholic atmosphere that contrasts sharply with the brief moments of sunlight Hina brings. These moments feel precious precisely because they are rare, highlighting the fragility of happiness. The visual imagery reinforces this contrast, using light and shadow to emphasize the emotional shifts within the story. The sky itself becomes a character, unpredictable and powerful, shaping the lives of those beneath it. There is also a deeper layer of meaning connected to the idea of control. Hina's ability challenges the natural order, raising questions about humanity's relationship with nature. Is it right to change something as fundamental as the weather, even if it brings temporary happiness? Or does doing so disrupt a balance that exists for a reason? These questions are not answered directly, but they linger in the background, adding complexity to the narrative. As the climax approaches, the emotional stakes reach their peak. The choices that must be made are no longer theoretical, they are immediate and unavoidable. Hodaka is forced to confront the reality of what Hina's power means and the cost that comes with it. His actions are driven not by logic, but by emotion, by a deep and unwavering belief that some things are worth fighting for, even if the outcome is uncertain. This moment defines his character, showing how far he is willing to go to protect the person who changed his life. The resolution does not offer a simple or conventional sense of closure. Instead, it reflects the complexity of the choices made and their lasting impact. The world does not return to how it was, and the consequences of their actions continue to shape the future. Yet within that uncertainty, there is a sense of acceptance, a recognition that life is not about perfect outcomes, but about the connections we form and the moments we choose to hold on to. The story ultimately leaves a lasting impression through its emotional depth and visual beauty. It captures the feeling of being lost and finding something meaningful in the middle of that uncertainty. It shows how even in a world filled with challenges and imbalance, there are moments of light that make everything feel worth it. The rain may continue to fall, but the memory of sunlight remains, shaping the way the characters move forward. There is something universally relatable about the journey of Hodaka and Hina, something that resonates beyond the specifics of their situation. It speaks to the desire for connection, the fear of loss, and the hope that even in difficult circumstances, something beautiful can emerge. Their story is not just about changing the weather, but about understanding what it means to change yourself, to grow, and to accept the consequences of your choices. In the end, the narrative lingers like the sound of rain against the window, soft but persistent, leaving behind a sense of reflection. It doesn't demand answers, but instead invites you to sit with its questions, to consider what you would do in a similar situation. And perhaps that is what makes it so powerful, the way it stays with you long after the final moment has passed, like sunlight breaking through clouds that may never fully disappear.